Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel, and thank you so much for joining me for another monthly net worth update. In these videos, I go through all of my investment accounts and different assets. We're going to count up net worth, what the changes are month over month. So if you're excited for the video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's go ahead and jump right into the numbers. To recap, from February 2024, my net worth at the end of last month was $122,646. The equity that I have in the condo I own back in Calgary sits at $56,193, and this is an increase from February of $444. My RRSP, or Registered Retirement Savings Plan in Canada, sits at $57,198. This is a pretty significant increase of $1,795. This is just due to the market having a really good month. My DCPP, or Defined Contribution Pension Plan, again, this is another retirement account in Canada, that sits at a balance of $4,161, which is a slight increase from February of $129. And both of these retirement accounts are 100% invested in VEQT, or the Vanguard All Equity Fund, if you're curious. My TFSA sits at a balance of just over $90. This is a slight decrease of $7 month over month. I do hope to fund my TFSA in the coming years. I would really love to max it out. My cash account sits at a balance of $6,171. This is a slight increase from February of $306. That brings our grand total net worth for March 2024 to $123,813. So this is an increase of $1,167 from February. And again, this is pretty much only coming from the market gains in my VEQT accounts and a little bit of cash after selling a lot of our items in New Zealand. I am really happy to see my net worth continuing to climb, and it's really only because of the market doing so well. Let's go ahead and jump into some life updates. So first things first, we are starting our journey back to Canada from living in New Zealand for the last year and a little bit. We're currently in Australia, and we're going to be taking a cruise back to Canada over the course of a couple of weeks. Honestly, it was like almost the same price as getting a direct flight from New Zealand, so that's pretty wild, but we're very excited to be heading back to our home country to get a little more settled in, visit family, visit friends. Super looking forward to the traveling, of course, along the way. Another update is, of course, we've sold everything we had in New Zealand, including our car. We did end up getting a little bit less for it. You've probably noticed that I no longer have a vehicle line item in my net worth. That is because we sold the car within the last few days, actually. We sold it last minute. I was hoping that we would get around 3,000 Canadian for it, but we ended up getting just about 1,860 Canadian. So a little disappointing, but it did have a few issues, and it's a lot harder to sell a car when you're in a much smaller area, of course. Like, we bought it in Auckland and sold it in Nelson. There's not as much demand for used cars, I guess, especially the ones on the lower end of things. So that was a big stressor, but I'm super happy that we were able to sell it in time instead of having to bring it to a dealership and basically give it away. Now, on the job front, which this kind of affects my FIRE journey. If you don't know, if you haven't seen these videos before, I am technically coastFIRE, which means I have enough in investments that I could retire comfortably at age 65 in Canada. Of course, including things like CPP, Canada Pension Plan, and OAS, which is old age security. But I do want to pad those savings a little bit more, and I potentially want to get back into purchasing more properties. But I did have a couple of interviews which looked really promising. I don't have any job offers on the table at this point in time, but I am really considering going back to full-time work in a corporate type of role. I know that might be kind of surprising after living coastFIRE for 2 years and working just part-time jobs to cover my expenses. It's been great, but I'm finding myself getting a little bit bored, lacking a little bit of purpose. And I have talked about this in other videos. I'll link a video above here in the eye and down below if you haven't seen it, basically talking about more philosophical things when it comes to retirement and work. So I am really considering going back to regular work, let's call it, like a 9-to-5 office job type of thing. an opportunity came up that looks really enticing to me, working with a team that I think I would really, really enjoy. And it would allow me to pad my savings and maybe save up for some more luxurious things like luxurious travel and just setting myself up for a more comfortable future. Really don't know what direction I'm going to go, if I'm going to stick with the part-time thing or go back to full-time or do like a mix of it. But fingers crossed that a job comes through really soon before we get back to Canada would be ideal. And of course, with that, with moving back to the city that we're from, we need to find an apartment. I might bring you guys along for that. I don't know if you'd be interested in seeing like different rental properties. I'm hoping we can line something up even before we get home, but I do want to wait on a job offer before doing that. Looking towards April, it's going to be an absolutely crazy busy month. We have so much travel going on and we're essentially homeless right now. Technically, we are living out of suitcases. We're living like a nomad life. We're just bopping around from hotel to hotel and going on the cruise ship. So that's going to be interesting to not really have a place to call home. Thank you so much for joining me for another monthly net worth update. I hope you guys had a really great March as well. Hoping that the markets continue their uptick. It's been just wonderful to see that recovering from like COVID and all of that stuff. So I'm super happy. I can't complain. My net worth is doing really quite well, and I'm hoping to grow it in the next few years. I'll see you guys really soon in the next video. Bye.